Hello, for gaming community and Beyblade community as a whole. We're here today for yet another podcast, and we have a very special guest, a returning guest, our main man Shindog. He's going to be here today, also accompanied by um, Crisis Crusher and Geester 99. As I told you, they'll pretty much always be on the show. Y'all always know Crisis is, but Geester as well. But we're having Shindog come back. It's going to be more still just an open discussion. Probably pick his brain a little bit. I told you I didn't have any questions, but I do have one big question. Um, and we're gonna take it from there. So first and foremost, Shindog, wanna say hello, how you been? And then we'll just go on.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on. I'm Shindog. I'm a staff at the WBO. I've been here before. I enjoyed being here. Thank you guys for having me back. Yeah, that's about it.
It's great to have you back. You know, your interview was actually one of the higher ones we have that's not a YouTuber.
Oh,
like mostly viewed and listened to.
I am a YouTuber. I just don't make any money.
Everybody's a YouTuber.
Yes, that's right.
All right, so we were just talking. You want to get back into that conversation? That was a pretty good one we were having.
Like YouTubers? I have no idea how to make money on YouTube.
No. Before James got here, when we were talking about
okay.
rankings and stuff.
Yeah. So before we started, we were talking about everybody's assuming that there'll be a next generation coming out pretty soon. Like we can debate when it's gonna come out, whatever, but it's gonna come out, right?
Yeah.
And we're also discussing now and at this point, a kind of an infamous discussion of what does the WBO rank points mean. And I brought up the discussion that, well, most other games or sports, if they keep a rank, it leads to something like an event, like like Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, golf, whatever. You get enough points, you get invited to certain things. And at that certain thing, usually you win a big prize. So in the end, the points actually amount to a large prize. Usually it's a large sum of money for whatever the game is. Mm-hmm. But we don't really have that right now. So we just have points, and they lead to points.
Yeah.
They lead to nothing.
They're just bragging rights right now.
They lead
right.
One match.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird. And I think that's something that I like to see fixed or addressed, along with resetting the points. And if it leads to something, then the way that you calculate the points are not even quite as important. Like if it's just you have to win X number of events or something like that. I mean, even like what maybe they're doing for what is it, Team of Palooza or something? Like you have to win so many to qualify for. That seems to make a little more sense to me. There's an end goal, and then there's a reset of it, right? Then we move on to the next thing where you earn the right to do or to be invited to something else.
Right.
Anyway, we're just talking about that.
Personally, I like the invite system from Konami with Yu-Gi-Oh, where they have very specific events. You go to those events. If you get a certain placing, you get your invite to the national tournament for the year. Like that way, then it doesn't limit you to where it's like, oh well, I can only make X amount of tournaments per every couple months. You can be like, okay, well I can go to this one tournament, and as long as I do good, I'm in there.
So qualifiers. That's
right.
That's what we got. Yeah, like Pro Tour qualifiers or whatever. For Magic, what would be what would be called?
Yeah, they're called regional qualifiers.
There are usually ways to go to a qualifier tournament and then make it, or you can make it by points. That's what I'm used to. Like there's more than one way to accomplish.
I think Jared, didn't Konami start that at one point?
They have it for Worlds.
For Worlds, okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. So you can and I think this is years ago now, when we were talking about the WBOX, there were going to be qualifying tournaments. And the qualifying tournaments will win a seat and also some travel reimbursement, I think. Of course, that never happened, but that was talked about.
What?
But of course, that was also 2020 and COVID. So,
like,
yeah.
honestly, as much as like travel reimbursement for getting an invite, I would love because it makes it cheaper on me. I think I would much rather, instead of money going towards that, it goes towards the bigger prize pool at the tournament, and just tell people you got to find your own way there. Like that's your responsibility to find your own way there. But if you get there and you do good, you get a lot of stuff. Like
Right. I mean, again, if you make that invitational prizing like seductive enough, people will just show up, right? Like, let's say if you have it's 64 people or whatever, and the top 32 will essentially get paid for travel, so people are gonna come. Like, if like it's like $1,000 for like that's the lowest prize, you'll get your travel covered. I mean, a lot of people are gonna come because it's still kind of free to go. It just depends on what the prize pool is.
The pricing is, I think the pricing is a big thing. But also at least I can't say I'm running into the issue now because Dark Continent hasn't happened yet, but we've discussed as far as the invitation goes. At least the competitive scene or the Beyblade community and the competitive scene, it's not big enough yet.
Yeah.
At least I feel. And that's one of the blocks that we run into because I'll run the circuit and typically it's not the same people showing up every time because I've been doing it in different cities, but the cities that I go to will be the same group of kids or adults in that area. It's not like we're having 60 people showing up and it's only 24. Like, I don't think I've ran 3 and we haven't reached the 24 cap yet. I think the biggest turnout I had was in Georgia recently, and it was 21. And a lot of people will sign up, and I think I had, even with those 21, I think like 16 people were people that signed up, and then 5 people that just showed, which that is good that people who like new players came out, but it's hard, like if you post a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament in any local area and you're going to have like 30 people show up just that night, even if you put it a week ahead of time. It's not like that with Beyblade though.
Yeah, sure. And that makes sense to me because, I've said this before, and maybe for people like us, it's a little bit harder to see, but Beyblade's very, very small. It's a very small game.
It is.
And that's why, my stance on a lot of things has always been to grow the game maybe at the expense of being more restrictive and more standardized in terms of, formats, what you can play, stadiums and things like that. Because if you look at something like soccer, you try to grow soccer like the World Cup, what do? They take a soccer ball and literally airdrop it into like a developing country. That's what they do. They just throw a ball there. They don't have soccer fields. They don't. Like, they just like, here's a ball. And once in a while you get like a generational talent out of that. That does happen, right? Soccer, it happens, right? Like some kid that doesn't have shoes, and then they become the best soccer player in the world, right? So that just happens. So I think even though Beyblade's been around for about 20 years, it's not very big. There's not that many people that play it competitively. And if you look at someone that I got to know recently, Eddie HH. Okay, so he has a, and I'm not plugging him, but he has a MFB channel, primarily MFB channel.
Yeah,
he gets a ton of views. He gets a lot more views than really some of the bigger Baytubers you can name right now. He doesn't have a lot of subs, but he has a lot of views. And his content isn't all that competitive. It gets way more views than competitive content. Right? He's like mostly stock or what if I did this? What if I... And his videos are interesting, but I think there's just a lot more casual players than competitive players. So it's still, for a lot of people, just like a toy that you kind of buy and you don't play that seriously. For a lot of people, I mean, I think most YouTubers will tell you that competitive content, they don't draw that many viewers, right?
They don't.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't like. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
So what I was just gonna say is like, so obviously one difference between like Beyblade and many other like TCGs and stuff like that. Obviously, here in the West, Hasbro is not involved like at all with the competitive Beyblade scene. So, do you feel like that hurts it from growing competitively?
Can you say that again?
So what I'm saying is Hasbro isn't really involved with the competitive Beyblades
Oh
like
yeah,
at
yeah,
all.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. Because everything, like like golf, with the WTA, PG, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic. They all have a governing body with a ton of money behind them.
Right.
I mean, it's tremendously helpful to have that. We are a fan-run organization, volunteer-based. There's a
Right.
huge difference, So yeah, of course we can't. We can't. We're not airdropping any Beyblades into developing countries anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not happening. And so I mean, so yeah, I think that makes a huge difference.
Right. What what are you hoping for Gen 4? Like what do you want to see the mechanic be?
Oh, I have bad feelings about Gen 4 because I think the timing that they pushed out there, I don't remember the name of it, but is it Bay Camp or whatever, the AR stuff? Which they have in Japan instead of the, what do you call the rare Bay Git and stuff like that?
The stuff with the Baylogger.
Yeah. Well, they no longer have Baylogger. It's just now
they don't have it,
they
right?
replaced that. Yeah. Like you do a battle and then you film it, but then it AR. I've never used it, but I've only seen it. That I feel like because of the timing of releasing that, by the time that they did that, they know this is how toys work, that they know when this is going to end. So that's when you were kind of test your concepts for your next line, I feel like. So I kind of feel like maybe that's going to be really part of the gimmick of the next gen. But maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Some AR stuff, some remote control stuff.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. What AR, like what have you seen? Because I haven't seen anything.
Is it Baycamp? I don't want to say I'm because I'm so disinterested in that. I didn't really
Oh yeah.
I don't want this, grumpy old man, like I just sit on my
What
launch and
it was remote controlled. Have you seen that, Mike?
No.
I mean, we always had remote control Beyblades, but they're just like a like a fun thing, right? Like even back in plastics, we had
Yeah, we had
RC
remote
Beyblades.
controls.
Yeah, they're just not that much fun after about 5 minutes.
Yeah, no. I got one of them when I was a kid. I had the Dronger B2 one.
Right.
It didn't really work.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, I'm sure they'll be better now if you make them, right? But that's what I'm kind of worried about. But as long as they don't burst and you actually launch the Beyblade, I'll be fine. I'll play it. We'll see how good it is. But I always really, from the very beginning, disliked the burst mechanic. I think it creates a lot of design issues. So as long as Beyblades don't burst, I'll be happier. But then I'm also worried that when they don't burst, they'll get an AR life bar. But who knows?
AR life bar.
I personally do not want to see RC Beyblades.
Yeah.
I do not. I'm really not. Because I was hype. I didn't even know that was an idea or a thing. I'm definitely gonna look it up after this. But it's like I feel like for and I could be 100% wrong. We don't know until we play. But as far as for competitive play, I think it's going to change the game drastically.
Yeah.
As far as enjoyment. Now, as far as making sales and having fun, like that'll be fun for the kids, of course, 100%. Um, but I don't know as far as on the competitive scene. Not only it just changes so much with the mechanics. Like it Beyblade right now is like kind of scientific, you're dealing with the physics and stuff like that, but then it'll get into, like, I don't know, the engineering. The first thing I thought of was that show with the robots that crash into each other that fight and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't even think of that. I definitely have
I
to
mean,
look
I'm
that up.
hoping I'm wrong. So
Well, yeah. I definitely have to look that up.
but I feel like just and this is not a new idea, there's Magic and then there was Magic Online. To be able to play the game without people being in the same room, everybody wants to have a little bit of that. There's some money in that, right?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
be able to play the game remotely. And Beyblade, as of right now, unless you play by yourself or you play something in your house, you cannot play competitively in a tournament remotely.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, somebody's got to be thinking about, well, if we could, this might make us more money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is
Especially, in the world, where COVID happened, where, can we go 2 years without having events? Like, what if this happens again? What if our Beyblades can be played not in person? That's a question that I think companies legitimately should ask.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my take on it. Anyway, I hope that's not it, but if I was running a company, I'd be like, what? How can we make it so that we are the next COVID proof?
You know what? I was completely lost. I thought you were talking about little robot Beyblades. You're talking about an app, just playing on the app.
No, not an app, but it is an app. Like the Bait Camp stuff. I don't know if it's an app or not, but it's a site at least. But but you also you launch the Beyblades and it just puts AR stuff on it. It does like effects like Batman, like pow, like stuff like that. That's what I've seen of it. But I would think a game has to take that to another level where you have some control over it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that sounds like a nightmare, but
yeah. I've seen the app. I haven't played it. I don't know. It's oh no, I got a little bit sad. If it's not as controlled, and I feel like that is, I guess I don't know what to think of it, because that would be so different. That's way different from going from Metal Fight to Burst. It's
sure.
really all electronical. And it's just, I can't even fathom it right now, because the Burst gimmick, it was something different, like they explode.
Sure.
But to have something that is just, I don't know, I guess it's not as physical. I guess I'm just not as hype about that. But hopefully it's not like that. Or even if it is, maybe that's just like a subsystem or
Like
something.
a component of it. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um did you have another question, Mike? Or did you want to speak on that, or Geister?
No, I mean, I would just hope that it's not like the main, like, as long as they work without ARBS like being a main thing. Like, unless it wants to judge opposite spin stamina matches for me, then I really don't want it.
Yeah.
I just have a hard time, and I don't. Again, I'm not a toy maker. I didn't go to school for toy making or top science, but I feel like it's hard to create a new line of toys immediately after a 7-year plus line, and make it so new and fresh. Like, it's still gonna be same spin stamina, opposite spin LAD, some attack, maybe burst, and you're gonna do that evergreen forever. I mean, is that really gonna have a draw without some type of break?
Yeah.
Like, what are these new things going to do that's really different? I mean, you saw what they tried to do after MFB with Bay Wheels and the Bay Warriors, all that stuff. It wasn't successful, but they they drastically tried to change it, right? They tried to change how the game is interacts and played.
Was that Hasbro only that tried that, or was
Yes,
that
yes. But again, because it's a Bay license, the character only has some level of sign off on it, right? Like, so they're like, oh yeah, go and try it. If it works well, I'm sure if Bay Warriors sold like $1 billion in 1 year, you don't think we get TT version?
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
TT would have jumped on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I think about it, and like I'm not a toy builder either, but from the history of toys or just history in general, there's typically like nothing new. Even with the Beyblades, even with the generations that we've seen, things adapt, but they've always been the spinning tops. They may just be a little bit bigger, shaped a little bit different. I would love to see, and this is my hope for it, if they had like the size of Burst with the incorporation of Metal Fight, and they really didn't change too much. All they did was just maybe change a couple of the rules for competitive play, and we get a different stadium. I know that may not be exciting as what people want or what people may be thinking, and I may be biased because I'm more so thinking about the competitive play. But it's like you said, if they do something that is off the wall and it makes billions of dollars, they'll probably go with that. But if they do something that's off the wall and it's not working out, they can stick to what works, because I mean the new gen system, was Burst Ultimate and DB, those made the sales. I'm sure if they even continued that, kids are going to watch the anime and continue on. But with making the fourth generation, I personally feel like the consistency will work, because it's still the old fans are still going to love it, and the new kids are everyone that I see that everyone loves spinning tops, and that's the concept of what this game is from ancient times to when they were originally doing it. So I'm hoping that it can some way stay like that, but we'll see. We'll definitely see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what the next generation is. I'll say that. I mean, I will buy it. That's already, I already have a blank check, so I'm gonna try it, even if it's Bay Warriors 2 or Bay Wheels, or Bay Warriors with vehicles. I'm gonna give them some money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of
check is already signed.
I'm just kind of hoping to take some of the best elements from like each previous series and kind of incorporate them.
Yeah.
That's what I really want to see. Like, I like from HMS, I like that everything is dual spin. Like, I think that brings a whole different dynamic to the game than what all of this stuff does now, because you'll never know what spin is my opponent going to be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like Metal Fight for the metal wheels. I think those are cool. The fact that it's metal hitting metal, you get to hear that tink tink a lot better.
Right.
Burst, I like the customization with Burst. But now that we've gotten to DB, I really like with what you can do with the Beyblades between taking them apart and different ways of reconfiguring them and stuff like that. I really like that. And then plastics, I mean, that's just the original stuff. You gotta love plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they do right, but it's just that their track record kind of. Anyway, we'll see. I mean, who knows? Yeah.
It's so weird because HMS flopped, but it's one of the more fun ways of playing the game.
People just got tired of it. It's yes, it's spinning tops is fun, but then it's also kind of like Bagoma's a great game. If you ever play Bagoma and you can spend a lifetime perfecting it, because you want to talk about skill, that game is nothing but skill.
Yeah,
and there's a bit of customization, sure, but I mean, Bagoma masters, they can spin that top on a penny. They can land up a penny. Okay, I mean a cloth. I mean penny-sized cloth, but yeah, they can do that. That's how accurate they become. Throwing a piece of rock with a string. So that's the level of skill that they possess, right? And they can play that for a lifetime. But most people will play Bagoma for like a summer, and then that's it.
Yeah.
right? Because they're like, okay, this is as good as I'm gonna be, unless I spend another 40 years at doing this.
That's
You
true.
know, yeah. So it depends on. I think it's just you can get bored of it. And HMS was a big departure. You know, like the parts are not compatible. People feel like they're buying everything over again, and they're like, well, you know, it's still spinning these tops.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We'll see. And you know, they probably, if a new gen would come out, I'm assuming there'll be new anime. Maybe, I guess anime pushes sales. I would assume.
Yes.
So yeah. So we'll see. We'll see about that too.
I feel like on what you said, Mike, and we've had these discussions before. I don't know if Hasbro and Takara Tomy take a different approach to it, and they probably do. Because on the competitive scene, I feel like Takara Tomy, I don't feel like they definitely are more involved. But they also do have a market to promote to kids because even in a competitive scene, I think it's like 13 and under. I'm not sure as far as going to like the world championship like that, um, championship like that and stuff like that. Um,
I think they do different age groups.
do they have adults though? I don't think they have adults.
I think they do.
Not for the world champ. I'm not sure. I'm not 100%
Which
sure.
one is this now? The Takara Tomy?
Yeah, for like WBBA. I thought it was like
WBBA, different regions are slightly different because you know WBBA is actually for most countries just the distributor, you know? And they're running events. For like Japan, they mostly have kids, grade school kids. It's the criteria is that you are a grade school kid.
okay.
And the Asian Championships, which is really the World Championships. It used to happen every year. Baseball, most years, it is only grade school kids. Adults are not. There's no, you know, main event for
Yeah.
adults. Now, many WBBA regions have adult events or even like all age events. But in Japan, at least, most of the time, it's primarily for kids, grade school kids. So it's not
Mhm.
even for just minors. Like it's just for 12 and under, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it all just depends on the region for WBBA.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like that, with having that backing, and because I think we talked about this before, like our culture, we're more into the sports, like the like soccer, baseball, getting your kids into that when they're young. Because there's no big incentive. It's fun, and if you support your kid with playing with their toys. Well, let me ask y'all this: even with Yu-Gi-Oh, when you go to your Yu-Gi-Oh matches, were there a lot of kids even there, or was it just primarily adults?
So they have. Are you talking at like locals or are you talking at like big events?
Big of both, all of them, and Magic the Gathering too. Shindog, if you like, I'm just trying to gauge.
Magic at high level events, it's mostly late teens, adults. I mean, Magic. Remember, Magic, they're pros. They're paid a salary.
Yeah,
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 so they're hired by Hasbro. Basically, they have like insurance. They have benefits.
yeah.
So yeah, those are adults.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh, the big events they separate it. They'll have a Dragon Duel and a regular thing. Dragon Duel is for like 13 and under.
Okay.
So
And,
so, so at the
go.
at the end of it, you'll have like a Dragon Duel national champion and a regular just national champion.
Okay. So they won't have. What about for like Worlds? Do they have? Is that like
Same
World
thing.
type thing?
Yeah, same thing. Worlds does it too.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm trying to. I guess I was trying to gauge even like for Hasbro with their marketing. Because right now, like, there's no question. It's all about the sales. Because there's not really an emphasis, at least within North America, for um the competitive scene. So I was even wondering like their target audience and why they wouldn't have that. Like, is it because they're just making money because the kids are just going to get it from watching anime? Are there not enough adults who are willing to play? And that could be a case too. Um, because even at these events, like some adults, I get it, like may not feel comfortable coming out because it's not as popular. But then I wonder the adults that are involved in this. because I don't play Pokemon. Pokemon was a little bit kiddier. It wasn't as strategical as Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh. And I think those strategies kind of cater to the older crowd.
That's
I don't
because
want.
Pokemon is more solitaire. You're playing yourself half the time.
Yeah, yeah. But I think about that with the mindset of the players, and I know Beyblade is different from TCGs, but as far as the strategy and the skill level, would you compare it more to Pokemon or to Yu-Gi-Oh? When you think about it, but overall, it's just like I just wonder, and with our culture, will they be pushing, because Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic is played by adults, so adults are able to they're gonna buy up these cards and these packs and things like that. But if
I mean,
adults are playing it, and if it was only kids, I wonder if it would have been pushed as much, because a lot of parents, like I said, in our culture are pushing for, like we talked about last time, like football and baseball, and they want their kids to play sports, not so much the anime lifestyle.
yeah, like so. Obviously, obviously I can't say like kids don't play Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh, but Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh is definitely a lot more advanced than Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like like a lot of cards in Magic or even in like Yu-Gi-Oh, like they'll have a paragraph of text you have to read to know what they do.
Yeah.
Whereas Pokemon, it's like it shows you how many energy you have to tap, and then it's one sentence worth of text. So
Mm-hmm.
like a kid can a lot easier pick that up than they can, Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
Right. And I think at least, Magic I know the best. I did play Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon for a while too, but um when Magic started, it was designed by Richard Garfield, and he was a mathematics professor. And he made the game first. He made the
Mm-hmm.
game with no intention of anime, certainly not anime. Later on there were books. And these books were probably designed for, I would say, as early teens. They're
Mm-hmm.
fantasy, right? Fantasy, so it's not it's like it's not it wasn't going to go to anime. It wasn't designed from a video game. It wasn't from anime. It was just designed to be a math game, a card game, right? And then
Right.
because of the lore and the fantasy element, people wrote books on it because it got popular. The books came after.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the target audience was already older, even
Yeah.
from the very beginning, because they were books. They were not, anime, manga, whatever, right? So that tends to be a little bit older because they're when you go back, and I mean you can still find them on eBay or Amazon. The books are what like a fifth grader or up would read,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't probably won't expect a second grade kid reading like Jay's the Planeswalkers Adventures. I mean,
Yeah.
they just wouldn't read that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, and then that all that stuff came later anyway. So it's a little bit different. Like their target audience was a little bit older to begin with, right? Probably more like a D&D, kind of age people. And that you don't see like the very young kids playing D&D anyway, right?
Mm-mm.
Not
Right.
as much anyway. Yeah.
They just play typically if their parents were playing or their parents involved. At least from what I've seen. Um. Yeah. It does. It just had me asking the question because I was thinking of why they aren't as involved, and also like what our community could do to help and promote it. And your idea and of like the soccer ball, just dropping it off in local communities is very helpful. But I do feel like we definitely have to grow, and it is up to the WBO right now, 100% as far as North America goes, to help it grow. But we are in a very weird state because Geester, you may know the best because you were here for most of the recent generations. So I think you've been playing the longest, right? He's been playing longer,
Yeah.
right? Shindog, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you saw the difference in the systems, like not dying out, but them ending, and then a new system coming and things like that. And I know we don't want to be stuck with this, like a whole bunch of people that love to play burst, and then a couple years down the line, nobody likes the new gen, and then the only people who are going to be playing burst are the people who are playing right now, and then that's probably going to drop off like 50%, because they may get tired of it. So I don't know. We'll need to see. I think people will always buy them for the fun of it, but as far as the competitive aspect, like there's a lot that we'll have to do as a community to help it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
So, Jared, this is one that I'd kind of like your opinion on too. So, obviously in like Yu-Gi-Oh, we have a ban list because cards are overpowered and sometimes the deck is just too strong or stuff like that, or a card is just really broken and locks someone out of the game. In the form of Beyblade, like, do you think a way to, because there's a lot of people that are like, God, I don't like burst. The opposite's been LAD, this, that. There's no attack, this or that. Do you think banning parts could help, like, balance out formats to where people will enjoy them, even though they right now don't?
I mean, it could help. I mean, in all honesty, people are gonna complain about anything. Doesn't matter what it is. You're gonna have somebody that's gonna complain. But I think maybe like after Burst is like done releasing and like people have time to actually like play with everything again, maybe you could like make like I guess the equivalent of WBO like Metal Fight Limited was, where it was like after everything was released, then it was made. But I I,
Yeah.
I still think you would just want to have the regular standard format and then just roll with it at least for a bit. I mean, if it turns out to be just awful still, then sure. But I guess trying to get more people into it, that's not like the easiest way because you're just limiting what you can and can't use.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would. It's not like I would be opposed to it. I mean, if they wanted to make if OP team wanted to make a ban list for standard, I mean, I would still play.
Well, I mean, like the reason I was asking you is because I know right now you are like really burnt out of burst and standard and whatnot. So
Oh
like,
yeah, for sure.
so like I was asking that because it's like if there happened to be a ban list, would that possibly have kept your interest? Like to where instead of us having to deal with bearing drift and like seeing everyone playing it and all these random opposite spin matches or same spin matches and the way they just turn out and awkward results happening a lot, would have if they would just be like, okay, this is just too strong, let's ban it, and then you don't have to deal with it, would that be like, okay, well now maybe I kind of feel like playing still a little bit?
I mean, maybe. I mean, it would just be a change in general. I just feel like right now it's been the same thing for like two years. It feels like it just feels so
I feel
boring.
like it's more than 2 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
like 2 years being so kind.
well, like at least with like Dynamite, I feel like Dynamite's literally been the same thing since its release.
Since
It's
Vanish came out.
so
Yeah.
boring. Like I am just sick of it.
I how let me ask this because I guess we'll switch. We don't have to switch modes, but I want to talk or ask y'all about your last tournaments because I know it's because of my traveling and going to the different regions. The last tournament I just had in Georgia was possibly the most fun I've had at a Beyblade tournament, and I won't say I did horrible. I didn't do well, but from the creativity I saw, and I think it's from because you do get the new players in different regions. That it was so much fun. I know y'all would have loved it too, because I know, like, as I'm thinking about your area, you guys typically play with the same group most of the time, and then you get a few new players come. Um, but the bearing drift was not as much of a issue. Like it did end up winning. I will say that. Like first place, he had a triple drift deck. Um, but the overall tournament and the combos that the people had, and I can get into it in a second. I want y'all to go first. Was a lot of fun. So how was y'all's last tournament? Was it just was it the same group of this? Was it just the same common people playing, or was there anybody new?
There was like 2 new teams because it was a team of Palooza,
Mhm.
but for the most part, it was pretty much just the same people. I mean, granted, it was Team of Palooza, so you can't really get a lot of new players to show up because I had to make them invite only.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that really hinders the possibility of more people showing up on that. But like the thing was like Dynamite F Gear with either Over or Giga on Bearing Drift was played by almost every single person there.
Mhm.
So like you were never not seeing that in someone's combo, just about. Like the only people that I don't think were running that was me, Geetzer, and Kirito.
Mhm.
We ran it on Vanish. So essentially it's the same thing, just the opposite direction.
Yeah, yeah. Is anybody running? And this isn't a joke or anything. Was anybody running attack like that?
uh, Kirito was. There was a few people that were still running attack.
Yeah, there was. I guess when I said like, so this last tournament was a lot of fun to me because we had a lot of. I won't say had some younger kids come. Actually, it kind of was a lot of new players and younger kids came, but we also had some new adults and a lot of people. I think this tournament they had the most players running attack, and I thought about you, Jared, when this happened about the safety of attack. Well, not the safety of attack, but it's kind of like the go-to combo because I never really I know you always say it, but I really saw it in Georgia as being like the go-to combo to always to give you either that 50-50 or that 75-25 or whatever to just like as long as you know how to play it so you can get those KOs. And that happened a lot in Georgia. And it was so much fun. Like the kids, like everyone was getting hyped, like everyone was getting around and watching it because the stamina and the safe combos, they weren't working out like that. And I think a lot of it was due to when you go against these like new players that you never played against before, you don't know their skill level, you don't know their tactics and things like that. So you have to be a little bit more creative, a little bit more innovative, because it challenges your skill. It happened, I think, a little bit at Dark Continent too with MJ the Best, because he just ran. I think he ran attack all finals, and he was killing it. So the safe stamina combos, even myself, like I've changed up my deck from running the safety of stamina, because it wasn't as effective here. And I guess to say like from going from different states and different cities that I've been going to and just seeing the different metas that they have, I've been seeing a lot of evolution with Dynamite. I know the combo thread and I guess the same regions playing within the same state, like it looks the same. But I, I I know it's because I'm traveling so much and I'm getting to see these new players and these new kids coming out. Maybe that's what hopefully like y'all can get if y'all had like a different area or a different region come there. I don't know, that might spark you up again, Jared. And I want to ask Shindog, have you had any burst tournaments lately?
I haven't been playing very much Burst. I've been playing mostly MFB and Plastics and HMS. I've always did say, even though I'm considered a Burst player, it is my least favorite gen anyway. MFB, because of some of the people were able to import a lot of MFB stuff from the Middle East region to here. Accessibility for California has improved a lot in terms of just buying the stuff. So there's a lot of interest in that. So I probably haven't played in a real Burst tournament in months. When's the last one? I can't even remember. But mostly I've been playing the most definitely Metal Fight, all forms of Metal Fight. I play all of them. I play everything. I'm not gonna stop playing Burst. I will still play Burst. It has always been my least favorite format anyway.
Yeah.
They're just the most Burst events.
Yeah.
And I'll say something like, I think what attack means to Beyblade. In Beigoma, there's 3 types. There's attack, there is stamina, and there's balance. There is no defense. Beyblade is not rock, paper, scissors. Attack helps Beyblade because it can beat everything.
Yeah.
You cannot do that in rock, paper, scissors because you can't have scissors sometimes beating rock. It's not a game anymore.
True.
It has to lose. Beyblade isn't like that. So there's the argument, and that's why there are these, I mean, I call it attack shaming, attack proponents, giving crutches to attack. Attack makes the game. It does, because it's meant to be a scissor that can sometimes beat rock. It comes with some risk. Sometimes you'll unsuccessfully throw the scissor. Like you throw the scissor, it doesn't come.
Yeah.
Right? Again, that cannot happen in rock, paper, scissors. That doesn't work.
That's
It's not that game. Defense was always kind of a weird thing for me, but it's just nice to put on a graphic like so they could draw a square instead of a circle. It's kind of like how Beyblade typing has always kind of made me laugh, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I think that's what makes attack important. The fact that it kind of does beat everything, and it can beat defense. Like defense has never been overwhelmingly advantageous against attack. It's never been.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the closest it's gotten is RDF. Maybe but you can argue if that's really purely a defense, because it's also good because it can play attack. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so I mean, okay, I guess that's how you beat attack, with attack. So anyway, that's why I think attack is important, and I think the biggest knock against burst is attack still is very powerful, but the burst stadiums, regardless of how you use them, and we made some weird decisions with how we use the stadiums. It's not very favorable to what traditionally people think us. I should have won that. You know, that's a win. That should have been a win for me. So that makes that. I think people. I don't know if they realize it. Maybe subconsciously they know. I don't know, but I think it takes away some of people's interest in the game, because they don't think it's working as it should.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my take on burst and why I'm not playing as much of it. And I'm fine. I mean, I never. If you want to play just all stamina, I'll play it. It's fine. I just don't need to play that as much.
Yeah. I wanted to say, Mike, and y'all don't have to do it, but if y'all getting bored, because I would love to see it, y'all team, all y'all just run attack, all three of y'all, and just like, part of my analogy, just balls to the wall and just go for it, and just see how it is for real. Like just do it. I mean, I know Geester, I know you play attack, just all three of y'all, and just see, like, you know, because I have been having more fun with it, and now that we're having this conversation, it's probably because I didn't realize why I was having more fun. But going to the different regions and seeing it is the change up. Everyone's not running the same meta combos. Like they'll have maybe a meta combo here and there in their deck. But with the amount of new players and people willing to try from the different areas I went to, it really brought some innovation to the game. And I would just, if y'all are willing to do it, I would just do it and say forget it. Like, let's just have fun. But it's up to y'all, 100%.
I mean, there's been times I've considered like running two, like a bunch, but it's almost like it almost never feels worth it. Like, at least if you're trying to win, you know.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, you only really if there's and I will say this, maybe not everybody will agree. Every single format that we have, there's an alpha attacker that can do greater than 50% against the field. So mathematically, you do not need a second one.
Yeah.
You don't. We like every single format that we have. I believe that. I mean, if you are practiced at it, there is one attacker in every single format that can beat the field at a greater than 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So you can spend a second slot to play it, but mathematically you don't need to. And I don't know that it's a great mathematical choice if you're trying to win.
Oh yeah.
If you can, just numbers wise, I don't think it's the smartest thing to do.
So the real thing too is like me and Geetster, us coming from playing Yu-Gi-Oh and everything and being extremely competitive with that. Like when you walk out to play it like a standard Beyblade tournament, you're like, yeah, I could play this attack type here and possibly yeet myself into the pocket, and that's it. I'm out.
Yeah. Right.
But I can safer just play stamina and possibly win, because at the end of the day, I'm here at a tournament to win it more than anything else. I'm like, as much as I want to have fun, I have fun when I win. I don't have fun when I lose.
Yeah.
And there's another thing I say about attack too, is that if a lot of people play attack, you will find Beyblade very boring.
Yeah.
If you run into nothing but attack versus attack, you will quit this game pretty fast. Trust me, it is not fun. It is pretty random.
Yeah.
You won't feel all that like, oh, I did something really impressive here. Like, no, I pulled the string really hard. I didn't go out, and he did. Or I hit him and he hit me. He went out.
I think that's like especially like a problem with like burst attack types,
Yes,
because there's like the height difference isn't there that exists in
MFB
Metal
is
Fight.
much better. Yeah. Well, HMS, even Plastics does this better than attack versus attack is more meaningful to me than burst. In burst, it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because like you can optimize your combo for like MFB limited to like beat other attack types. You can't do that with like burst at all.
Not much. Not really. I mean, I always hate saying this, but like anti-attack, God, I hate that term. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you can do stuff like that, but in burst, I don't feel like it's as meaningful. Maybe it's the most meaningful in classic, but still, I don't think it's that meaningful. To run an attacker that happens to be better against other attackers, I don't find that enticing. I think it drops your win percentage against everything else too.
I will say in pick 3 choose 1, I do normally have an attacker in there because it's really fun when most of my area knows I basically just play stamina, and then after choosing I pull out the attack type and they're like, what is happening here? Yeah. That's my fun, when the mind game just happened for nothing.
Yeah. The Team of Palooza is all 3v3, right?
Yes, it was all 3-on-3.
Yeah. What do you think about pick 3 choose 1, Shindog?
I don't like it.
Don't?
Yeah, I mean, especially now, I would probably be very unlikely to ever run it if we can run deck format. I mean, I don't want to run the first part of deck format only. If we're gonna run P3 choose 1 is just the first step of deck format played 3 times. That is what it is. That is by design in our design doc. If we play deck format, if we want to play deck format in first stage, but we can't have enough time, how can we play deck format in first stage? That's literally the thought behind it, right? Pick 3 choose 1 is deck format first pick.
So what if with pick 3 choose 1, it was slightly different, where you don't stick with the one Beyblade you chose through all of them. After the battle concludes, you do it again. Like that first part of look at the Beyblades, decide which one you want to use, and you have that battle. Like, but you're not doing a counter pick. It's gonna be random. But
then that would be entirely that would be different, and that might be more interesting to me. But again, I think with time.
Yeah, I think that would take longer than playing deck.
Yeah, with time, I used to really like deck format. I do, and I still like it. But with time, I've cooled on it a little bit. Like this counter picking, a lot of times in deck format, if really 2 very equally skilled, competent players play, it's only the first pick that matters a lot of the times.
Yep.
The score is going to be 5-4.
Yep.
Right? Or unless there's some self KO, some random bursts and stuff like that. Right? And it's kind of like going through the motions a lot. And I guess, again, attack and throw a wrench in that, so because I have an attacker, I can I can maybe get this, and then it'll change the score a little bit. But pick three, choose one, and deck format. If I could choose to play deck format, I would just play that over the current version of the pick three, choose one every single time. If I want that, I just go all the way. I don't need to go halfway there.
Right.
If I don't want that, then I rather reshuffle, because the reshuffle part is interesting to me. It still is, and maybe that'll get old too. But it's just I haven't done that for as long.
So what format is it you like to play the most currently?
I probably would say 3v3, and then I still like deck format. I'm not saying I don't like it. I probably feel pretty equally about them. I don't like single bay. I don't like pick three, choose one, and I think I won't like 5G that much. But maybe if we do it the way that Papa Bay does it, like they do it over there, where the first stage is in the standard stadium, and then the second stage is in the DP stadium, and he would just hide bays at the end. That's kind of cool to me. Like, you take a risk of playing Rage Extreme Dash in the first stage in the standard stadium, but in the DP stadium, you're hoping that you will not be forced to use Rage on Extreme Dash.
I have been watching those videos, and every time he's like WBO.
So it seems like that's fun to me. I think that's interesting. But I mean, I never the reason why I like the 3v3 is working towards the reshuffle, doing the reshuffle well. That's the mind game there. Of course, the initial sequencing has mind games too, but that's what I like about it. And the 5G not offering that isn't as I don't like that as much. I don't think, but also I haven't played 5G that many times.
Yeah, I haven't played 5G too much either.
Yeah, so maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. But yeah, pick three, choose one is not one of the formats that I would personally enjoy playing very often.
I played 5v5 with first of 5 points. That's not bad. It's just bigger 3v3.
Bigger 3v3, yeah.
Do you think, because I just saw with deck in first stage, you think you'll ever run that for an entire
I want to run it, but boy, time, my main venue is still an outdoor park gazebo. And it gets dark here around 5, and my schedule is I can't really start events until 2. Okay. So the event's gotta be pretty small. And burst standard or metalify standard, I can't finish by 5. It'll have to be a pretty small event.
Yeah.
So that's just a time thing. I just can't, like, if other people run it and we're indoors and we have adequate lighting, then yeah, I'd be very interested in playing that. But logistics is an issue. Playing to 5 points in first stage in burst, like 5. Let's think about that. 5 rounds of Swiss. You have 32 players. 5 rounds of Swiss, 5 points. And remember, deck format has no draw, whatever. There's that very minor 15-round limit right now, currently. Think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
How long does that take?
That is a lot.
Yeah, if you think about people judging wanting to kill themselves now.
Yeah,
you better bring body bags.
Yeah.
So anyway, think about that for a minute. That's a long time.
Yeah. I thought about that when it came. Well, honestly, I think we've talked about it. I don't think I've ever wanted or even if I did, it was always time consuming to think of having deck in the first stage. The only way I can see running is if you did have a very small tournament, but even in round robin, that can get long. Sometimes round robin lasts longer than Swiss.
What you need is group round robin. You need to get it right there. So there's not too many people in each group, and both groups are running simultaneously.
Yep.
But that that limits your event to a certain size quite a bit, right? I mean, it's pretty limiting. So
yeah.
And then you don't get that fat multiplier.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like the idea. I like that we have a choice. Again, it's a choice. You don't have to use it, so I don't have a problem with it. But realistically, will I be able to run it. Like currently in the winter or fall, if I'm running events where I usually run, I can't do it. Logistically, I can't do it. Yeah, not for burst standard and not for MFP standard. I don't have the guts to do it. I can't finish.
I don't think I would either. What are you about to say, Mike?
I was just gonna say, so because I went back through and I was looking at all the recent rule changes. How did you feel about, you guys deciding to change the what's it called, the mode changes and stuff like that?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I have to do that disclaimer again. It's like kind of like what Zanky does right before his videos. My opinions are my own. They do not represent the WBO, etc., etc. Yeah. Okay. So the mode changes, to me, it's positive. I think it's a lot more lenient than what it used to be, and it's fine. It can be even more open, but I think it's pretty good at a pretty decent state.
By that, do you mean like rotation changing?
Rotation changing, or even changing your modes even more freely, like after a draw or something, or after a stay, right? Because right now you technically can't change mode after a replay, right? Because you're stuck to the mode. So you can even go further. I think this is a good state. And again, I think some of our rules we just have to test out in terms of time consumption.
Shindog, I'm sorry to
Yeah.
cut you off. I gotta ask you this
Mhm.
because I was sweating at my last tournament. I did end up hitting you up, but
Mhm.
so we talked about this on our last podcast, and it was about the mode changes in
Mhm.
deck.
Mhm.
And I was worried because I thought it was going to happen, but it didn't. If I win my match, or
Mhm.
I win, and let's say I'm battling Crisis, I
Okay.
got the first point, he lost. He lost a point.
Mhm.
I choose to stay. He chooses his Beyblade. I change my mode. I want to change my mode. He wants to change.
Wait. Go back to this. So if you won, you won the point, right? So he lost.
I won
He
the point.
gave you the option to switch.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. So
Yes.
because you're only able to say you want to stay if he lets you, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah,
Yes.
he decides. Okay.
Yeah. No
He says
replay.
switch. He
Yeah.
says switch.
Yeah. He
Okay.
says switch.
No replay.
No replay.
Uh-huh.
He chooses his bay. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I choose my bay, and
Right.
then he chooses his counter.
Uh-huh.
Am I allowed to change my mode at that time from the original mode that he made his counter on? Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
to me, the way that I would read the rules is that he would be, you're done with initially your Beyblade selection is done at the same time. But in deck format, your your Beyblade selection actually occurs at a different time, right? Because he gets to see your selection first,
Yes.
right? But to me, when he selects his Beyblade, that's still part of Beyblade selection phase, okay? Because he's selecting his Beyblade. You just do it in sequence as opposed to simultaneously. So once you select your Beyblades, both of you, that's still in that phase, and you can switch modes.
So you can still change modes at that point. Okay.
Yeah, you are not. To me, Beyblade selection isn't over because he hasn't selected yet.
Now,
So once he selects, then you both have an opportunity to change your Beyblades before it's dropped into the stadium.
My
what?
My bad, Mike. And I might be asking what you may be asking, because I've seen, like, if I do a mode change, like let's say I was high or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like because Mike knows how to play, or even if it was vice versa, if I'm in high mode and he chose a Beyblade and with the idea that I was going to stay in high, so but then he sees me go to low, he may have wanted to use a different Beyblade at that point. I guess in a way, and Mike, you may be able to word it better. He kind of loses his advantage because high and low mode it changes the performance of the Beyblades.
Sure,
We
sure.
we know that for opposite spin and even same spin.
Sure.
So maybe he goes opposite spin or same spin if it's more advantageous to him when I'm in high mode. But then when I go to low mode, it gives him a disadvantage, and maybe he wanted to do something else. And that was the question in that scenario. It's like, does the loser have an advantage at that point? Was that what you were going to ask, Mike? Or
No, actually, so this is what I was going to say. So, from the initial wording of the rule, because I had asked that question in the forum, and Shindog and I believe Think had responded, and Shindog, you had basically said that the way you read the rule is yes, you would be able to change your mode because, like you said, you're both now still in the Beyblade selection phase.
mm-hmm.
But I want to read something to you guys real quick. If they will switch, they must make their selection, including mode changes if applicable, and then show it to the opponent. That is the wording in the deck match type for the WBO match type guide.
Okay.
Right.
So currently in the match type guide, it says this, but in the other things, it doesn't specify anything.
Yeah. To me, the changing of the mode. Okay, so for let's say if you're playing the most basic single bay, right? You reveal your bay. If you're gonna switch modes, you both turn around and switch mode, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So are we saying for deck format that's not true?
That
You would not switch mode simultaneously?
that is what the match type guide says. The match type guide is saying that when the winner of the previous battle is here, it's switching combos. Point A, if a replay is declined, both players may switch Beyblades before the next battle. B, the winner of the previous battle must declare first if they will switch. C, if they will switch, they must make their selection, including mode changes if applicable, and then show it to the opponent. D, the loser then has the option to switch their Beyblade from another Beyblade in their deck, however, they are not obligated to.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of sort of, I guess, conflicting wording.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
if you look at parts with multiple modes, modes can be changed at any point during the match before it begins or between battles, right?
Correct.
So if we're saying at any point,
Mm-hmm.
if your opponent announces that they're also going to change mode, is that still at any point?
Yeah.
I would from the wording of this, I would assume, because it says the one that won makes their selection including mode changes. It said, and then the loser has the option to switch their Beyblade to another Beyblade in their deck. So I would assume that within that section, when they're selecting theirs, they can then make their mode changes as well. Because it's like winning player gets a Beyblade selection phase first, and then losing player gets Beyblade selection phase after.
Yeah.
Shindog's just like, great. Now I got to go into a meeting and be like, someone fix all of this.
Yeah. My bad, Shindog. I don't want to sound like we attacking you too, because I know you up here.
That's fine. And I think, to me, I would read that. To me, the intent is that modes are changed at the same time. That's that to me, and in terms of the inherent advantage that you're supposed to get with being the loser of a deck match type point, I think seeing your opponent's Beyblade first, that is plenty of an advantage.
Okay.
And to be able to then lock them into...
Shindog basically feels both players should then blindly make mode changes after the bays have been selected.
Yes, because in every single other format, that's what we do.
Exactly. Yeah. And I could agree with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that's the spirit of the mode change.
Right. But it's just unfortunately, how do I put this? We have a couple different formats within the WBO that the base rules of the game that, like basically some of the base rules that come from WBBA just can't mesh with, like they can with 3-on-3 and 5G and stuff like that. And that's where we run into these problems. It's just the way we do these formats, it doesn't all completely mesh as well as it should.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true, because the game was not intended to be played this way.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's like the stadium was not intended to be used this way, so you're supposed to run into problems. If you insist on driving your car into the lake and using it as a boat, then you're gonna have problems.
Yeah.
You can, but and then you say, "Oh, why do I have problems?" Sure.
Yeah.
Jared, do you have anything to say?
It's just I guess it's up to if you interpret a guide as the actual rule book, because the ones is a guide that you're reading from, right? That says that the one player has to stay on the one mode.
Yeah, it's the match type guide. But if you go into the rules now, the rules now say go to this guide.
Right.
I
think that's just primarily a wording issue. We'll probably have to fix that. But I think technically, can you only switch mode once?
I mean, it doesn't say that. So.
It doesn't say that, right? Either. I saw. I'm gonna stick in this mode. Oh, wait, you're switching modes? No, I'm gonna turn around again.
Yeah, and I think with that, I did what you just said. That's how I ran the last tournament. I was like, y'all have an opportunity now. Like as soon as y'all reveal the base, and in first stage it was 3v3. Like I gave him time to turn around. And I was like, once you turn back around, you're set. So you saw the opponent's bay. Once you turn back around, if you made any mode changes, you're good. Let's go. My confusion was with, because I didn't know within deck is the loser was he losing his advantage if his opponent was changing modes afterwards. But in the sense of like what you just said, it's like, hey, you choose your bay, your counter by you seeing their bay. You have to make the best choice from the combos that you have, and then y'all could turn around and make mode changes. That makes it a lot simpler.
I think the spirit of it is, let me give you just another scenario, and maybe that'll make sort of what I mean by the spirit. We had a conversation, I think even the last time I was on, or maybe it was just off air, I don't know. But we talked about scouting, right? And peeking at other people's bays. So you literally already got to peek.
Yes.
And then you still you want them to set them so that you can't even miss peek.
Yeah.
You wanted to deadlock them to that degree. Then I don't know that that's really the spirit of the mode change. And to make mode change, I think kind of not. I don't think that's what it's intended to be.
That it was giving me anxiety as a judge. I wasn't even in finals, but I was worried that something like that was going to happen, or somebody was going to get into an argument. I had you on standby, man. I really did, and I was going to call in case, but I didn't, because I didn't even bring it up because I didn't want people to even think about it to argue. I was like, okay, we're going to play deck format. This is how you run deck format. You want to change modes, you can. Thankfully, a lot of people were not trying to change modes, so we didn't have that issue. But in big tournaments or with more extremely competitive players, I could see it happening, and I was concerned. But that's how I plan to run it, and it makes a lot of sense. It's like you can't you have your advantage, and you have to make your advantage from what you're giving, from what you've seen. Yeah, so that makes sense. I appreciate that input.
Yeah, but you're I mean, I agree. It probably has to be stated a little bit better. I mean, more consistent.
Right.
Yeah, and I would say.
It's just you don't need two different documents saying different things.
Right. I think if we're gonna have mode change, this should go all the way back to how we did it for HMS. You turn around at the same time, you make that change, you turn back for every single Beyblade format.
So when we were having our Teamapalooza, this was the first tournament up here that we had where mode changes were, unlimited pretty much. And what I told them we were gonna do was, for the most part, just you show your Beyblade, you both turn around and make any mode changes, and turn back around. And once you turn back around, you're set. Like, but throughout the day, it did seem easier to just ask, do either one of you want a mode change? And if they both said no, then it's like, okay, go. If one of them said yes, it's like, okay, then both of you turn around and do any mode changes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So, but either way, like,
that's a good way.
That's just the proper way, I think, to do it. Because I think that's how they do it in WBBA. I don't know if like they just mandatorily both turn around and do any mode changes, or if they have to ask.
Yeah, I think the way that I hate to say it this way, but I hate the way that you see them do it on the WBBA, that way is just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they hide it. They usually go under the. They don't even turn around. They go under the stand.
They luckily have stadium stands and
right, and then you just do it over there and you bring it back up. And sometimes they'll they'll have the card. I've seen like the left or right card. Yeah, like just something like that. That seems just like the right way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm getting one of those stands from Consi for hosting 4 Teamapaloozas, and I was like, oh, this will be cool. Then I remember the area where we mostly have our tournaments is very off level, and I'm like, well, we're not going to get to use this.
It's going to fall over. Roll down the hill.
Yeah. I was like, oh, we're not going to get to use this. I mean, I'll have to like put a box on the ground and level the box out and then sit it on top of it or something.
Oh, it's in the river now.
Yeah, I ended up doing what you did too, Mike. I started off asking, but it became more time consuming. And then when I would ask, the players would they tend to look at each other and be like, well, what you want to do? You want to change or not? And then it was just that extra option. If they didn't know what they wanted to do, it became too time consuming. So I was just told everyone, like, when you come up, if you want to change, like, just let me know, let the judge know, and then I'll tell y'all both to do your thing.
You don't want to turn that into a game of chicken. Like, are you gonna change?
Yeah, they were at each other.
Oh yeah, no, I would shut that down. It's not gonna be it's no. Do you want to change?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it like, do you want to change mode? No. Do you want to change? Yes. Well, he's changing. Do you want to change? That's it, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not even that. It's okay. You want to change? Both of you just turn around then.
Right. That's fine. That works too. Yeah. And you can do. Yeah, that's fine. I think that's just more in the spirit of the game. Like I said, I still like deck format. I still think it's good, but a lot of my early on reverence for it has dissipated. Like, it's okay. It's one other way to play. I don't love it as much. I don't have as much reverence for it as I used to. Like, being able to lock your opponent in and counterpick them to death and win at 5-4 eventually gets old.
Did they change? I can't remember. Did they change? Can we do finals with a different format now? Did y'all change?
Yet.
No, not yet.
Okay.
I would assume that will probably end up being something likely to end up happening. I mean, Shindog doesn't know everything, so it's not like we're asking him. I'm just assuming that eventually that'll probably be an option.
Well, let's say, I mean, have you seen Toronto run a lot of 5G in the form like finals recently?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm not the one doing it.
Right. Well, no, I know you're not the one doing that. I'm just saying, like, it's not like, let's bombard Shindog with, hey, is this change going to come? Like, I
mean, I can tell you again, because of my disclaimer, so I can say whatever I want.
Right.
I would like to see every single format available for every stage of the tournament.
I agree in the sense of me and Geetzer have said this before. Like, when you go play at Yu-Gi-Oh! And you make it to top 8, you're not now playing Magic.
Right.
So to randomly just change to a whole different format after the regular stages, just I don't know. It just feels weird to me to have that happen.
Yeah. I think, if you are bringing deck format down to first stage, then certainly other formats can be moved up to the final stage. It will help with logistics too. And again, if for organizers who want consistency, they don't have to do that. They can run all deck format, all single bay, whatever, whatever suits their logistics, their capabilities.
You could also do interesting things where, like, first stage of Piccoli choose one, you move on to deck format and finals because it's an extension of that format, and then like
Yeah.
3-on-3, you move on to 5G because it's an extension of that format.
Yeah,
So,
sure. I mean, I've always not cared too much about. I mean, again, like if the players are playing in similar conditions, it's competitive. It's okay.
Right.
Like I know they don't play the World Cup, on the beach, but but we're not the World Cup. That's all right. So if we happen to play, if someone happens to play 1v1 and then 3v3 in the final, I don't think winning that is any less, valuable than winning someone playing. Oh, we played deck the whole day. Like, okay. I mean, winning either one is, it takes skill and hard work and merit. So I think it's fine.
I
winning
mean,
at different.
It just takes skill in different areas.
Right. So it's fine to me. So I like to see that, and I like to even that people would not, and I like to even see some, and from the organizer's perspective, like some emergency, like let's say things go badly and you decide to run deck in first stage. Now it's getting very dark and very cold, and you're like, oh shoot, we got finals. Yeah, we said we're gonna play deck, but geez, we really ought to get out of here in 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
Can we switch it to single bay and still have this count? I like to say yes to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not ideal, but then freezing to death is also less ideal.
I don't know. Us in Maryland, we freeze when we play.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm just saying, like, and then I think there was one instance where they had it in a convention center. They got kicked out and played under flashlights or whatever. I mean, yeah, some places that's safe to do. Some places you probably don't want to be. I don't know. There's certain parts of downtown LA that I don't know you want to be spinning tops in certain neighborhoods under a flashlight in the middle of the night. Maybe you don't want to do that.
Yeah,
I don't know. So I think there should be some flexibility, and I like to see all the formats. In general, I am all for being more open, being more the reg status. I think I don't love the way that it's handled. We have, I think, our take on being this competitive integrity, like how we have such standardization is a bit of we're kidding ourselves. Yeah, a little bit of that. So I think we can loosen up on that because we are not that standardized. We're just not.
Yep.
With like the rankings and stuff, like as much as I want to care about it, it's just so. I try. I care regardless, but like I try not to worry about it too much anymore. It's just so like, I don't know. It's kind of demoralizing to play once you get like pretty high up because you just can't get anywhere anymore. But
yeah,
it's weird. I mean, I don't know. The ranking system it definitely needs some sort of changes done to it. And I know you guys have been working on that for years. So just whenever it finally is available, it's available.
Yeah, that needs to get fixed. I mean, we gotta fix the ranking system. I think it has to be very different than what it is now. That's my opinion, anyway.
What is your I think we asked this last time. What is your, I guess, your take on the state of the game right now, or the shoot? I don't really want. I do want to say the WBO, but not the. You have your disclaimer out, but still, like, what that you really want to see, like as far as the game goes and things like that? Or is there anything that from that?
I think I said this last time too. Like everything I do in the WBO is for me,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
my enjoyment and my fun, right? So, I'm pretty bored of Burst, at least standard, but it's totally fine for me because I played all the formats. So I'll circle back. I'm sure I'm kind of ready to play Burst again, I think. So in terms of gameplay, the formats and stuff like that, I'm not too like, well, I have a, I mean, I played this game decently well. I'm whatever format I think I'm competitive. I'm fine, right?
yeah,
I can do as well as I want to do or need to do to find it enjoyable. Like very few people only lose and keep doing it. It's
yeah,
like a hobby, like if they don't have to, right? Like even
yeah,
if you're like a boxer, if you never win, like you're gonna give up boxing sooner or later, right? Like
yeah,
if you
yeah,
just get pummeled like every time, like this is not that fun, right?
yeah,
It's fine. I don't really have too much problem with the formats and stuff. I mean, I've had my opinions, but regardless of how the game is played, I'll just find something that works for me. But that's sort of again unique to me, where I can not unique, but that's something that I can do because I play everything we have to offer, right? So if I get bored of something, I don't like the state of something, I just go to something else,
Yeah,
and
you,
I
you can
encourage
easily
that.
swap to something else.
Right. So that helps me in terms of um the state of WBO. I mean, we can look at it a couple of different ways. I think we have more organizers than ever. We have more events than I can remember, and I like to say ever, just because we have. I think it's just we have a lot more events. So in any case, I think that's probably good because my vision of growth of the game is having lots of organizers, people traveling less, and be able to find the game with a half an hour drive. Always, not very necessarily very big ones. Not very big events, but maybe like a 8-10 people event all
So
the time.
so basically, you want the only time where they have to travel a far distance is for a big event, like
Yeah, or
NASCAR
if
or
they want
something.
to, if they want to.
Right.
I like to see more. I think Beyblade lends itself to more smaller, informal, because we're informal, right? A lot of times we're playing parks and whatever. It's not that formal. Um, so I like to see that. Like people don't have to travel as far to play Beyblade. Uh, and if they want to, it's because they want to, not because they feel like that's the only way I get to play. I think
yeah,
that's how you will grow the game. I like to see where I'm driving by a park when I see, oh, those 7 guys, they're playing Beyblade, WBO Beyblade, and I didn't even know about it. Right? That would be great. That's what I envision how you would grow the game. And really, it's a nice reward for Takara Tomy and Hasbro for not lifting a finger.
100%.
They're very fortunate that someone else doing that for them. I'm like, my God, usually you have to pay for that.
Yeah,
Excuse me. So that to me, that the state of the game, I'm not too worried about it. I know we have a lot of
bless you.
um, uh, problems with rules and rankings and all that. But I think in terms of growing the game, at least, and I could be wrong. I mean, we opened up the organizer process, a lot. We have a lot more new organizers. Like I'm sure even for you
Yeah.
guys when you first came in versus
Oh
now,
yeah.
like
Uh-huh.
everybody's an organizer, right?
Yeah,
Like we
Even
really
people that probably shouldn't be organizers.
right, maybe. So I think that's overall like a good thing, and at least, at the very least, an organizer means that they read the rule book enough to pass the quiz at least once, and they also read the organizer's guide and the rule book enough to get by the interview once.
mhm,
Maybe they won't remember any of it, but they did it once. And if they never organize and they come to your event, at least they did it once.
yeah,
So that is an advantage also to me. Like, well, they had to have done this. So I don't have too much. I think in terms of growing the WBO, in terms of number of participants and events, it's not bad towards the end of a generation. Because this is when you would expect for us to jump off a cliff.
Yeah, you'd expect it to be really dying off at this point.
Yeah, because the series is gonna be over.
and stuff. Like,
Right, right.
But it fell off the cliff.
Like,
they're looking for a cliff to jump off like fast, right? And we're not. Yeah, I can tell you that because I mostly handle the organizer process. There are plenty of people applying.
One of the things I keep I keep having conversations with different people, and one of the things I keep trying to explain to them is Burst currently is the gateway for newer players more than anything else. Like, because they're seeing the products on the shelves at Walmart, Target, and stuff like that. So and then they got the anime and stuff. So that's kind of like how they get introduced into the game. They probably will generally come to a Burst tournament first, and then they'll learn about Metal Fight and
of course,
and HMS.
I mean, you just look at the attendance. I mean, Burst standard is gonna have the best attendance by far.
Right, and I keep trying to explain to people that having Burst tournaments is how you will grow the other formats as well.
Yeah, I mean, of course, a format like Plastics. I mean, no one would be playing that if Burst did not exist. No one. The WBO probably wouldn't be here if we didn't have this generation, or it would be much smaller than what it is now, right? I mean, if there's not a third generation or whatever, right? There'd be hardly anybody left because this would be how many years after MFB?
10,
a decade?
It'd be like 10, yeah.
10. So you're telling me 10 years later, the WBO had this level of membership, this level of competitive play, with no new product? I doubt it.
Oh yeah,
right. I think you only grow smaller.
It was almost dead before Burst came out. Like, I'm surprised it lasted.
Right. Yeah. So Burst helped tremendously because it puts that product into people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I almost thought that it wasn't gonna even last through Burst for release. Like, I didn't think there's gonna be enough people on the website anymore for it to actually be able to take off again. It was bad. Right. It was tough times. Right. We went from pulling 50 people a tournament to struggling to get 8. It was bad.
Right. No, yeah, I believe that. Sure, and it makes sense because, I mean, the end of MFB was not well received. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any other topics, Mike, or Shindog? You have any questions for us, or Geester?
Oh, I mean, I'm always gonna ask. Have you guys all tried the? I know some of you have, like the Shin TA, and don't worry, I'm not here to sell a product. I don't get any money from that.
That's good that you brought that up because I meant to ask about that. Do you mind explaining that? I can't remember if we talked about it on the show or if we talked about it offline. But you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Okay. I mean, it's basically with some redesign, and the redesigning credit goes to Angry Face. He designed some of the minor changes. It is the Tornado Attack Stadium that I set out to create initially with him, and then later we got help some other people. It took us a while because there were a lot of failures. It's hard to make a stadium. It's expensive too. So even if you're just copying one, it's not even completely making a new one. It's just copying one is hard. So I went out and I wanted to have this because I very much enjoy playing Plastics at HMS, and Tornado Attack is notoriously fragile, and it's not sustainable because they're very expensive to pick up. Right now, if you go on eBay, I think they're $400 or $500 each, and they may last one launch.
Real quickly, because I'm sure you looked at all the different designs. What is the actual difference between the Tornado Attack and the BB-10 from Metal Fight?
The walls are shorter, The ridge is more defined and taller. The bowl part, the dish part is kind of similar. It's 2 levels. It's actually the bowl part, the closest thing aside from the walls to the tornado attack, in my opinion, it's not just opinion. I did take measurements. Is the Hasbro, and that's why I was sort of a proponent of it, and I still am. I think people should just play in it. It's fine. It's accessible. People can get it. It's better than most other Hasbro stadiums. But the walls are different. Obviously, it has pockets. It has or exits. It has exits, and the walls are smaller. You can get over the wall pretty easily, and that's by design.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the Hasbro Stadium except our current wall bounce rule for KOs.
Well, yeah, and the Hasbro play. I mean, I do think it's a little too small for burst standard. I mean, you're gonna get a lot. I mean, even for me, you get a lot of bouncing because it's just. I mean, the bay's bigger than the pocket.
Yes.
I mean, like wind is just.
Yeah.
It doesn't even fall into the pocket, right? It's not capable of falling. I mean, all the way down the pocket. You know what I mean? Like it can't touch the floor if your bay's intact. So anyway. So that's what I set out to make. And the Tornado Attack Stadium is very good. You can use it for other generation, but I set out to make a stadium sustainable for play for me. Again, for me is I always say that for me to play plastics and HMS. If people happen to want to use that to play other things, that's great, good for them. But my intent to finance, I would just say finance. I did not make the stadium. I technically I'm not capable of doing the work. To finance the stadium is this, so I can play predictably in the future. Play the part of Beyblade that I like the most, which is plastics and HMS. That was the intent to make it, and I don't sell them. I left that duty to somebody else. I'm not interested in selling Beyblades. I will give them away on the West Coast to certain people that I think will benefit from having them running events. I like to grow that part of Beyblade more than I care about growing I mean, to be honest, I care more about growing the oldest part of Beyblade than the newest part, because that's the part that I'm interested in the most.
That's solid. Where can you get them?
Right now, at this moment, you can get them on eBay. Some people are reselling them on eBay, and I don't have a problem with that. You can also get them from Dan again soon. He will put up a website, I think, for people to buy them.
Okay.
Yeah, and the money is not coming to me. The money is going to some people because they did a lot of work for it, and they deserve to have compensation for their time. But for me, I paid the money to get the number of stadiums that I will get. I'm valuing what I'm getting at $400 a piece. That's the amount of money that I paid. So if you want to buy them, I will say this. They are currently subsidized by me by about $100 a piece.
Yes.
Every time you buy one, I lose $100. So if you hate me, go ahead and buy a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to say, and I'm glad you brought that up. I was thinking about it in the beginning of the show, but I forgot towards the end, and I wanted to say thank you because that was a great contribution to Beyblade and the community as a whole, especially with the older generation. Because I personally don't play. I haven't used a stadium, but I do appreciate that you did that, or even the mindset and all the other everyone else that assisted and created the stadium, because we need that, not just in the sense of the stadium, but just like, I mean, that's what the community is, coming together and looking out for ourselves. As we've already discussed, we don't have the big corporations to help us do that. So these things, they're not little things. I was going to say that, like little things like this, because this is a big deal. Like you put a lot of money into this project. It is appreciated, man. Thank you so much.
And I like to point out, it's also, I think it's important that's a proof of concept that can be done. People have try to do repros, or either came out a little off or fragile or whatever. But if you want to go make a BB10 now, you know it can be done.
Right.
It'll still be costly, but it can be done. It's not an. It's. I mean, I spend money, but it's not an astro. It's not like a. It's not like you have to have the Keratomi to do it. A person can do it, right? That's what I'm trying to say. Now the burst stadiums are harder because with the shroud, it's going to cost even more.
Yeah.
And clear is apparently more expensive to do. So there's some, there's still some problems with that, but it's doable. It's like if 15 years from now you feel like you have to go make a burst standard stadium, well, you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jared, did you have something you were going to ask?
No. I was about to bring up the stadiums too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's solid, man. That is solid. Did anyone have any other questions or topics?
No, I think I'm good right now. I mean, we're already like what, an hour and 40 minutes into this anyway.
I believe so. Yeah.
So it's already a good enough listen for people.
Yeah. Once again, thank you so much, Shindog. Yeah, it's always great to have you on the show. It's very insightful. Thank you again, regarding the stadiums, for always helping out your community. I won't say every show, but I know like we shout you out a lot, even what you do with the like the testing when it comes to new formats, the things that you do on the organized play team, as you are the staff member, not the only staff member, but one of the primary staff members that definitely listens to the community to get changes done. So if you all listen to this show, I'm not saying to blow up Shindog's inbox, but definitely show him some love. And if you have like questions or need some insight, he is definitely the guy to go to. He's really about the community and helping the game. It's not for any. He says, I know you say it's all about you, and it is for your enjoyment. But he's also a very caring person as far as the community goes.
No, but it works out because I don't like playing tops by myself.
Yeah, you can't.
By extension, I need other people to play. Literally, I'm paying for stadiums to give it to people so that they will play with me. So that's how that works.
100%.
I'm gonna need like 4 of those stadiums, buddy.
Yeah, I outside of California or immediate to me, it's gonna be through Dan. That's sort of I kind of made that commitment to them. Eventually, I'll do another run. Well, if we had the demand, I'll make another run. But I may make that run here in California instead of Canada. That it was originally, this batch was made in Canada.
Fair.
And shipping to California was pain and expensive. And I will. I think one of the topics that I'll take home today. I need to get that fixed. The deck format. We need to get that wording fixed. So that's good that you guys discussed it. So I don't think I read it to the point where I was that concerned about it. But now that I'm hearing it from you guys directly, and sometimes even when you discuss things on the forum or Discord, you don't quite I guess look at it the way that someone else is looking at it.
Yeah.
But then we were talking, I can see that's pretty confusing.
Yeah.
That's conflicting. That's conflicting, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's conflicting. That's like, whenever you guys come up with something, like I read it and then I read other rule books too to try to make sure things are consistent. Generally, because I want to try to bring it up to your guys' attention, like, hey, you fix it here, but not here. I don't want other people getting confused.
Right. No, that's fair. And we need to fix that. And we'll see what the intent is. But I gave you my view of it, but that's very good for me. So I'll work on that, and we'll see if we can get that fixed quickly.
Woohoo!
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank y'all, and thank everyone for listening. Appreciate it. This show will come out. I guess it's 2 days. It's Friday right now, November 11th. It'll be out on the 13th, or I don't know. I might put it out tonight. But yeah, thank you all for listening. We greatly appreciate it. I will put in a plug. I probably should have said it in the beginning, but for gaming for our site on Black Friday weekend, so not Black Friday. I think it's the 26th and the 27th. You can check out our website. We're gonna have it's just our holiday sale, so everything won't be on sale. But the big thing about it is we'll have a lot of parts, like individual parts. So you won't have to spend $25 to get a Beyblade or $75 to get a whole set. If you just want a part, even like the rubber part of what's the new what's that new set that just came out? The DX?
The fusion set?
Yeah, the
It's
fusion set. Yeah, like the rubber
okay.
Perion part, like the MR or
Yeah.
Oh, so
yeah.
you'll have like the two halves of the layer separate.
I have the yep, I have each I'll have the what you said, the two halves of those separate if you want to get some. And like always, like our stock is not limitless. It's gonna start midnight on Saturday. So 12 a.m., 12:01 a.m. is when it'll start on Eastern Standard Time. So
That's
you know,
on what day?
it's on
26th?
Saturday. Yeah, 26th, the
Okay.
day after Black Friday. Um, the best time to get up there would be at midnight once it starts. Unless nobody else gets on there, because sometimes in the morning, like some things are just gone. We don't have a limitless supply, but I wanted to do that. I like doing stuff like that for the holiday sale. We also have other parts like some chips, some armors, and some drivers and things like that, and a lot of the random boosters. Like shout out to the GT format. I forgot about that. It became rank. We are going to have a lot of the old random boosters deeply discounted. Those things will be discounted significantly for that weekend. So if you want to do anything or get some gifts for some friends that are trying to get into Beyblade, it'll be cheaper that day, and also you can save some money instead of buying a whole set or a whole Beyblade if you just need a couple parts or something like that.
Get yourself a replacement part and then give your friend the old part.
Yeah.
Big brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, get out there, get out to your community, do what you can. Also on this channel, I have a few videos to help you become an organizer as far as for setting up and some of the things you have to do. I meet a lot of parents at every event who ask questions, and I have a part 1 and part 2 there. And like I said, you can hit up Shindog, you can hit up Mike, and definitely hit up Geese99. He loves for you to inbox him. No, but in all seriousness,
Make sure you ask him what his favorite character is.
yeah. All seriousness though, you definitely get out there. It may seem intimidating, but it's not that bad. We all do it, especially in your local community. I think it's heavier on me sometimes because I'm traveling so much and I'm tired by the time I get to an event. But you're just having an event at your local park or something like that. You grow your community. You get a great group of friends. A friends tell a friend, and then next thing you know, you have an environment of some of the best bladers in the country or the world. All right. But yeah, thank you again, everyone. And with that, y'all take care.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem.
Bye.
Buddy.